eat an apple, like your voice will sound less poppy and it will be beautiful or something. And it did. All it did was hurt my jaw.
I think we're live.
We are live. I know. That was
Oh.
one thing I did.
Oh, that's what you wanted to. That's what you want. That's what you wanted to begin with.
With an Apple story.
Okay. This is the Apple Story podcast.
It's a great podcast.
No, this is This is our second Midwest Pacific podcast. I'm Micah Conkling.
I'm Marshall Sandoval.
Hello, this is the Midwest Pacific podcast.
I'm Marshall Sandoval.
And I'm Micah Conkling.
And we're back. But I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if they trash that hard drive. There's nothing on it. Like, if Google, when anything bad happens to Google, it's 8 times worse than my computer breaking.
Right.
And I love me some big monster smashing things. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch Guillermo. You can't. Those boxes don't communicate a lot. You're just like, it's an assault for your senses. So
people are always building Warhammer structures. It's like guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. Like someone is always like somewhere in the United States, someone is always in a board game store, like even if it's closed, just like in there.
It's our nerd as nerds. It's our version of like the Buckingham Palace guard or guarding the tomb. It's true. We like change the guard. Someone then starts running the table at Warhammer instead. They tap out. It's an arduous thing, but somebody has to. There's like nuclear fallout in Calcutta or like, Alberta, Canada, and now like Alberta, Canada is like -3 because there's like radiation there that happened, and you like stick physical stickers on the board, and you like physically throw out like certain rules or pieces, like you just straight like alter the way that the game is going to be played for the subsequent playthroughs. So
that's
kind of a
awesome.
Fun twist on like a game that we played a million times, kind of like a.
And
nice
so if
in-between.
you've played Risk before, you probably have a little bit of a heads up. If you win it, then you got to put your name on it.
There's parts that you literally write physically on the board. Yeah, it's like it just messes with all those expectations. It's kind of fun.
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Amazon loves it. Shut Up and Sit Down love it. Board Game Geek loves it. Like I got to try this. That's the other big selling point. It's 5 to 10 people. Not a lot of these games allow you to play with like that many.
You either have to play like two different games.
Right. Yeah, so it's a perfect party game in that way. 5 to 10 people, easy to set up, $20. Resistance Avalon is terrific. That can be very heavy-handed, where it's telling me how to feel rather than showing me. Where it very explicitly is like, well, Lord Grantham, he is an aristocrat, and this is how aristocrats feel, huh? And then like young people, they like these changes, and it just like very heavy-handedly does some things where it could be a little more subtle about it. And I'm much more interested in like, oh, he's leaving. He wants Tom to take care of ISIS. Like, those stories than sometimes I am the way that they handle those plots sometimes, because sometimes I just feel like it's telling me how to feel rather than showing me. It's a little heavy-handed with the way that people characterize attitudes about times. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
The way that Anna responds, Hughes responds, Bates responds, are very much colored by old frameworks and mores that we don't really hold about those things anymore. She still very much is like, this is my fault, whatever at first and all of that. And so that was a sticky thing in this season a little bit.
I think that's still very much a stronghold in our contemporary understanding of the issue. I think there's so many rapes that are never reported because women feel like it's their fault.
Weren't they silly, but also like, weren't those great times? It has this, it wants to have its cake too. It wants to be like sort of very moderate about everything, and that's how the characters tend to land as well in the end, which is
totally. It's like a criticism, like but grounded in nostalgia.
Exactly. Yes. Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I like the way that sounded. So.
This podcast has been a criticism grounded in nostalgia.
Well.
I believe Friday Night Lights is such a exemption, is exempt from this because its ending was actually absolutely incredible.
Yeah, best possible, which is why I am fully anti-movie, just so our listeners know.
Yes, we are anti-Friday Night movie.
Not the first to say it's the era kind of anti-heroes in television, and why are we drawn to that kind of story? A lot of the darkness and horror of the show is what chasing that killer did to those guys. And so not only was it a finite tale that was focused and had a resolution, but it also was not overly reacting to, oh, people like Yellow King, we gotta put that in there more.
Yeah, let's make a real Yellow King. Like, let's get
like, yeah,
let's get Tom Hanks in here to be a Yellow King. Maybe forever. If time's a flat circle, maybe we've been enjoying True Detective and we didn't even know it.
From a fourth dimensional perspective, we've always watched True Detective. And we still are.
And it's always been watching us. And Matthew McConaughey can always watch me.
So no, actually, I jumped to the assassination of Jesse James.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Like I was thinking, like snake handler Brad Pitt. That is.
Yes.
I think True Detective season 2 is just two women trying to find snake handler Brad Pitt, and I am in.
Oh, you think Brad Pitt might be the villain?
That would be the greatest. Yeah.
That would be the greatest. What if it's like Brad Pitt is the villain, but you never see him, and then the female detectives catch him, and he is Benjamin Button, and he's like dying at the end.
He's going backwards, and then the female detectives actually were Thelma and Louise. They've left their crime committing ways to become crime fighters. Until this very Oscar telecast yesterday, I genuinely believed that the films Shame, Hunger, and 12 Years a Slave were directed by deceased actor Stephen McQueen, the white man.
Oh man.
Like he's been dead for like a good while now.
A good while.
That is what I thought. Zombie Steve McQueen was directing Michael Fassbender in all these films.
It's fair. I feel like when I first like saw that he was like Steve McQueen, quote unquote, was directing Shame, I feel like I went to Wikipedia and like clicked on it because like, oh, that's really interesting. Like I thought he was dead, and like I saw the information out.
Such a vast range of things that mean movie today or mean video game today. It's just like these awards are so. It just feels arbitrary to try to compare performances like that or films like that at a certain point. It equally baffled by my lack of having seen stuff. Have you seen Blue Jasmine?
No.
I don't know.
Me either.
They're all really great actresses.
That's hard, and like for me,
it's the most A-list that category has ever been.
Seriously, and I think.
I like Jennifer Lawrence's performance just because it gave us the phrase science oven. To begin with stretching your metaphor. If it's a great meal, you want to savor the meal and like give it the right pacing and let it hit your stomach and digest it well. Like you're not digesting this well, you're just shoving nerd tropes in your mouth to get it over with.
Mm-hmm. And as much as like I would want, like I mean, the shows that I love, like Breaking Bad, so much of Breaking Bad was made for me by the fact that even though I watched a few seasons to catch up, like just the pace of like waiting for every Sunday night to happen and then thinking about it and talking about like and that's the big thing with binge watching for me is I mean we do this podcast because we love media, we love culture and art, but we also think it's important to talk about it and talk about how it's affecting our country, our world, and our own lives and relationships. And with House of Cards and with shows just dumped on you like that, you just don't get the chance to think about and break up and talk about it.
There's an art to getting the tone that right and then hitting your, like, I've edited a lot of movies, so, not movies, but little clips, and so it's just hitting those beats that way. There's something amazing about when that's done correctly, and maybe I'm just a giant nerd, but I like a good trailer. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer that, honestly, even that Rush is out, like, it's kind of funny to me that Rush is out, but the hype of a U.S.-Russia final, that rematch, would have been enormous, and that would have been a lot of fun. He, I feel like, is the fictional Johnny Weir. Like, I feel like Johnny Weir's inspiration is Stanley Tucci in the Hunger Games. No one else cared about that, but I thought it was wonderful.
This is something I'll admit on this podcast. I've never seen Silence of the Lambs.
I'm glad that was what you said and not I Eat People. There's no Somali pirates do not attack them in France. Just to like tell you.
Here's what I'll say. If people don't like long periods of dialogue with no action, they wouldn't be listening to this podcast.
If you're still listening to this Oscar cast,
you won't mind that movie.
You won't mind this film.
Yep. And I'm gonna go build my Warhammer set.
You work on that Warhammer set, man. Somebody's got to. We're obligated to, and I'm gonna go watch those U.S. women. Watch them hit some people.
I'll talk to you later.
It's been real.
See you guys.